When it comes to podcasting, I find that most people are really focused on the quality of sound and getting the best microphone and getting their little phone tiles or going to recording studios. And that tends to be the focus. Like, let's make sure that it sounds great, that I have the best quality microphone and all these things, which makes sense. It's a podcast and we want to make sure that people can hear us clearly. Now, one of the areas that I see a lot of podcasters not focusing on is actually the branding and the visuals. And this is a highly missed opportunity because if we have really poorly designed cover arts, then no matter how amazing our sound is, nobody is actually going to take the time to listen to our podcast because first impressions, am I right? So today I am excited to talk to you about Canva and how you can use Canva to really up-level your podcast because guess what? Making sure that you have attractive visuals is a huge step in making sure that you're getting more people to come over and listen to your podcast. Let's do this. So let's talk about branding and think about this for a second. When people are searching for a topic inside of the podcast app, they search for something, they type in a keyword or a key phrase, and a bunch of podcast episodes will come up. Now, all things considered, let's say somebody is searching for how to do XYZ and your podcast episode comes up along with 5 other more, and all podcasts have the exact same title. The next thing that will determine whether or not that person will listen to your podcast will be 2 things. They might be looking at the actual cover art. They might also be looking at the length of your podcast episode. Now, if you go back and listen to episode 353, I talk a lot about how to format your podcast and the perfect length and all of that. To make sure you go listen to that podcast episode. Now, assuming that you have a length that your listener is comfortable listening to, and by the way, they have no idea who you are, they have no idea who the other podcasters are, right? So you guys all have the same chance. The next thing that they're going to look at is cover art. So if your podcast, it might be the best out of all of them, you might have the best sound quality and the best advice, but if your cover art is not representing your podcast, if it's not attractive, then guess what? They're going to move on to the next person. So it's important that you take a minute to think, okay, is this art right now, is it attracting my listeners or is it repelling my listeners? Because that is obviously a thing. And this is where Canva comes in. Now, I highly recommend that you work with a graphic designer to make sure that your art is on point and everything looks beautiful and everything looks cohesive. But I do understand that that can be an additional cost. And if you're on a budget, it could be a problem. So using Canva can eliminate that problem because Canva has amazing pre-designed templates and all you have to do is go in and change and put in your picture and put in your colors and things like that. But here's the thing. Still, if you're not a designer and you don't have an eye for design, you can quickly start adding things and removing things. And next thing you know, you're still left, even though you started off with a podcast template that looked good in the beginning, the end result is that you have a less than desirable cover art. So what I need you to do right now is to be honest with yourself, actually take a minute to go look at your podcast cover art and ask yourself, does this look professional? Does this podcast cover art make other people want to listen to it? When you go to similar niches in your area of podcasting, what are other podcasters doing? Not that I'm telling you to go imitate them and go do whatever cover art they're doing, but if they have a cover art that looks really nice and professional and it's nice and it's bright and it's super inviting, and yours, it looks like a 3-year-old got on Canva and put it together, then we have some work to do. So here are my tips on making sure that you're creating really attractive cover arts that actually attract listeners and not repel them. Number 1, if you're not a graphics person, go the minimalist route. Less is better. So even if that means that you have maybe black and white, or maybe you just have something that's dual tone, maybe 3 tones max, I recommend that you go that route over trying to create a bunch of different things and putting emojis and putting glitter and just a bunch of sass in your podcast cover art, because it may think like, oh yeah, let me go ahead and add all these things on here and put a call to action and this and that and the other. But in reality is the busier your podcast cover art is, the more overwhelmed your listener will be when they look at it. Because again, you have to remember, people are judging your cover art like it's literally an inch by an inch by an inch when they're scrolling through. Like it looks really small on the phone. So you have to keep that in mind that if you're adding way too many things on there, that people are just not going to resonate, and they will for sure go ahead and listen to the next podcast that has a more professional look to it. Number 2 is that I highly recommend that you have some sort of tagline on your podcast. So if you have a podcast that the name is very catchy and it's not really clear what it is that you're talking about, I really recommend that you go ahead and have a tagline. So even though my podcast, the name of my show is called Organic Marketing Simplified, I still have a tagline on there because I want people to know that when they land on my podcast, this is what they're going to get. And by the way, I talk about many things on my podcast that are outside of my tagline. And the tagline is not here for you to include everything that your podcast is about. It is just a clear, benefit-driven, outcome-driven statement that you can put on your tagline so people know exactly what it is that they're going to get when they listen to your podcast. And of course, that is basically like the tree, right? And then a tree has branches. So of course, you're going to have branches on your podcast, but all of that does not need to be on your tagline. Just keep your tagline nice, single size, and benefit and outcome-driven. The third tip is for you to think about your podcast cover art like the cover of a book. And if you were to go through the trouble of writing a book and putting it together and hiring an editor and doing all the things, the last thing you would do is just to not give thought to the cover, because again, if people are not attracted to the cover, they're not going to listen. When it comes to the book world, people spend like a lot of time making sure that the book cover actually hits the mark. So when it comes to your podcast cover art, make sure that your cover art hits the mark too. Now, if you are one of those people who will go to Canva and you will just add on way too many things and you're not sure about, is this too much? Is this not enough? Then I'm super excited to announce to you that I have just launched a podcast template shop inside of my website. So if you go there right now, you're going to see a shop, and inside of the shop, you're going to see our podcast pack. And this podcast pack not only has cover arts, it also has all the other branding that comes with it. So we're talking all the social media graphics that you will need, including Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and so much more. It also has templates for audiograms. It has a media kit so that when you go to pitch yourself to be on other people's podcast, or if you're trying to work with a sponsor, you have all your information on there and everything looks beautiful and everything's on brand. And it even has a podcast planner that is so juicy and so full of information that will keep you focused and aligned and organized on your podcasting journey. And I've made it super affordable so you can go ahead and get your hands on it, because let me tell you, the visuals on your podcast, they really do make a difference. So while I'm always talking about SEO and making sure that you're getting found and all of these things, we cannot forget about the branding and about the fact that as human beings, it's important that the things that we're looking at are things that makes us happy, are things that are inviting us in, are things that actually make us excited. So it's important that you go ahead and that you have a really killer branding for your podcast. So again, all the information will be linked for you in the show notes so that you can go ahead and check it out. Not only that, my podcast listeners get 10% off. So the code for that will also be down below. So you can go ahead and not only have really amazing cover art and social media graphics and have a really cohesive brand that will take you across multiple platforms, you also get to do it with a discount. So it does not get any juicier than this. Now, speaking of branding and visuals and things that make us happy and get us more reach, make sure that you're subscribed to the podcast, because next week we're talking about growing your podcast with Pinterest. So it is a super timely podcast episode, because we're going to pair the keywords with the visuals and put it together in a visual search engine, which is literally the best of both worlds, so that you can get more reach on your podcast and get more listeners, get more downloads, and make more sales. So make sure that you tune back in next week for that episode on how to make sure that your podcast episodes get more reach with Pinterest. Until then, may you find God's grace, love, mercy, and peace, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.